I am not really sure why on this nice warm day we're using our ovens to make something in the summer.
That's the only way you can bake.
I know.
Unless we had a stone hearth out in the backyard, but we don't have one of those.
We don't. So anyway, the reason why we're doing this today is to celebrate Father Martin's birthday.
That's right.
So Father Sam Martin is our pastor at St. John the Baptist here in Marshfield. And he's a pretty phenomenal priest. There's just no words to express what a wonderful, person that he is.
Yes.
So we have been celebrating his birthday for the last few years. So one of his favorite pies actually is a banana, cream pie. At least that's what he tells us.
Right. Well, we could switch that now with making this pie for him instead. So maybe he'll have two favorite pies.
He does like fruit as well. So today we are going to make a crunchy caramel apple pie.
All right.
And it's also going to include some pecans.
Okay.
So Gary is going to use our handy dandy pampered chef apple core slicer peeler, and I'm going to start making the topping for it. So Gary is going to peel 5 apples, or about 6 cups of apples, for a 9-inch unbaked pie crust. And again, I always make homemade pie crust, but you can get pie crusts in the freezer at the store if that's what you choose to do. So I've got my pie crust all set to go for Gary, and I am going to make the topping. So I'm going to have 1 cup of packed brown sugar, a 1/2 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of instant oatmeal, and I'm just going to mix those around, and then I'm going to cut in a 1/2 cup of butter, or 1 stick of butter. And we're wearing our Italian aprons today because we went on the pilgrimage with Father Martin 3 years ago, and it was a phenomenal experience with him being the spiritual director, and he had gone to the seminary in Rome, so he has a vast knowledge of Rome and all of the sites and basilicas and other churches and the history, and it was just an amazing experience for us. And we've talked about that. We had another show before that we talked about our Italian.
And he's actually going to lead another pilgrimage. I think it begins next week, to Ireland.
Right.
We're not able to go to it this time. We would love to, since both of us have a little Irish blood in our veins.
I have a lot of Irish blood.
You have a lot.
In
You're
my
like
veins.
you're like 7/8, right?
No, it's more like
like 7/8.
That's right. Yeah, almost completely from.
Let's just call it.
Irish background.
Let's just round it up and say you're
Yeah.
all Irish.
Yeah.
So, and I've got some Irish in me. So yeah, that would have been fun to go, but we'll get there. We'll get there someday. That's on our bucket list.
And going on a pilgrimage is not like going on a vacation exactly, because it's really focused spiritually, and you're just visiting all the wonderful holy places. And Father Martin does a wonderful job to that end.
It's also mixed in with other cultural things, and you get to visit some of the tourist sites as well. So it's a good blend.
Now, as I'm mixing this butter in, I like to do it by hand. You could also use your food processor if you wanted to. You want your butter to really come out of the refrigerator as the refrigerated temperature, because if you soften your butter, then the crumb mixture topping is going to be softer than what you want. And another pie I just made was a little bit softer because I had had the butter sitting out for a little while. You just want to get it in, all incorporated into your brown sugar, flour, and oatmeal until it's just a crumbly mixture. And Gary is almost done with the
Almost done with this.
That peeler is amazing because it takes quite a while to get those apples all peeled, and
If you did it by hand, it would be a little bit more of a chore, but
and I really
this works well.
using that because their apples are all the same consistency. And then when I layer them in the pan, then they all, lay really nicely too. Okay, and after
Okay.
Gary is done
I'm going to take this over.
doing his apples, then
this
we're
out of
going
the
to
way.
slice them to make sure that they're all sliced right. We've been doing a few different apple desserts, and I think summertime is the best time to work with apples and all the other, fresh fruits, blueberries. We've made a lot of blueberry scones and some blueberry crunches and different things. So Gary's just going to make sure those are all sliced up.
Just try to
and
check
again,
for seeds.
yep,
Sometimes
seeds.
they're
Get the
they're not-
green out. I like to just have
Yeah.
that kind of
Yep,
green.
sometimes there's a few little leftover
Okay,
seeds.
while
Can I
Gary's
bring
doing
that, can you bring
this-
that little waste
Oh, this?
bucket over here
While
again.
Gary is finishing up with the apples, you're also then going to put in a half a cup of granulated sugar.
Okay,
Check though, three
You have- you've
three
got the-
tablespoons of flour,
right.
about a teaspoon and a half of cinnamon, and about an eighth of a teaspoon of salt. And then we're just going to stir this in. And then we're going to add this to the apples before we
And you-
put the apples in
And you
the...
prefer not to have the skins?
I prefer, yes.
Okay.
I like them.
Either way it would
I
work
like
out.
those skin-free.
Okay,
I have my one recipe that I make an apple bundt cake, and you make apple chunks and you keep the skins on, but it bakes long enough so that the skin gets nice and soft.
right.
Like this
See
one,
more
I don't
seeds?
like.
You don't like that either?
I don't
Okay.
like that one either.
All right, so I'm going to mix these, make
We
sure I
good
got them
there?
all cut in half.
Here.
I think I have them all. Oh, here's a section here. Okay. I think I've got them all split.
Okay, and then we're
Okay.
just going to mix that in.
Okay,
So
just
you
take
can
that
just use
spoon.
that spoon
Okay.
and get it just all mixed in. Some recipes will call for...
Do you want a bigger spoon? I can get you one.
Oh, we're good.
This is fine.
We're fine. Some recipes, like with apples, will have you mix in lemon juice, and that's just to kind of keep them from turning brown. But
Right,
as you
if
can
you're gonna-
see,
If you do the
you've
apples,
got cinnamon in here. You got brown apples. Anyway,
that's right.
You know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. If you're going to have your apples sitting out a while before you put them
It's kind of
in,
thick right in there. There you go.
Okay.
Spread that around a little.
and then we're
You got
just
that
gonna
bottom?
do
Oh,
it
there
like
you go.
this.
I was going to say, I knew you'd get your
Make
hands
sure
in
that
it.
they're all-
There's always some sugar at the bottom.
Yeah.
Get that all, what's your favorite word? Incorporated.
Incorporated.
Get that all incorporated.
Okay, so now we're just going to start layering them in my pie pan. So that's when you want to then
Pull them apart.
pull apart any that might be still together, okay?
And you kind of want to put them around the edges, make sure they're all the way to this perimeter, to the sides.
Except you want to leave with this type of crimped crust, you
Mm-hmm.
can leave a little bit away from the edge, because then as you put your crumb topping on,
Oh, you want the crumbs to fall
then you're
down
going to
yeah, a
have
little
those
ways?
falling in, right?
Okay.
And then
Well,
I
that's a good
also
thing.
like to kind of have them up, a
Yeah.
bit when you're,
So you get a nice,
like that piece.
a nice look. You didn't like that green on there?
no, so we
Here,
have
here's
a
another
little
piece.
bit more sugar.
There's another piece of green.
Got that? Okay. A little bit more sugar on the bottom here, so we're just gonna put those like that.
There you go.
Making these pies, I used to think making an apple pie was pretty labor intensive. And it's really not when you've got the different tools that we work with, like using
Mm-hmm.
your peeler. And then for me, because I always make my
Could use a little right down in
my
there.
pie crust, from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
I always have several in the refrigerator or the freezer. So then it's just easy then
Right.
if you want to make something, then you just bring out your
So when you do pie crust, you have the mess. You just make several. Make
Exactly.
Five
So
or
I
six
might
or seven
6
of them.
or 8 or 10, depending on what the event is that we're going to be using. And this does get kind of messy. And when we put this in the oven, you can either put foil around the outside of your pie, so in case it oozes out, then you can have that, from getting your oven dirty.
Do you keep it loose or do you pack it a little bit
No,
so it doesn't
well,
roll?
Kind of both, I guess. You just want it to stick to your apples.
Right.
But most things I like to just kind of keep kind of light,
Mm-hmm.
if you like to play with, Play-Doh or something, this would be kind of a
This
fun
is
thing.
perfect.
Yeah, little kids I think would love to help their mothers with making these things because they can get in there and get their hands sticky and dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, we're losing some of that. How are we doing on that other side?
Side over here is good.
Sometimes Gary isn't here to help me,
Yeah.
do this, but
And it takes her a lot longer. And
it does.
she doesn't get the good sound advice
Here.
when I'm not in the kitchen with her. And you know how much she misses that
Uh-huh.
advice.
Okay, we're just going to do
Okay,
this.
I'll do that.
Okay,
get
and then
this
I'm
out of
going to
the way.
go wash my hands so that I can pick
Okay.
this up.
Can't wait to.
Okay, so we've got this pie ready to go, and we just happen to have another pie that is just finishing baking, so perfect timing.
We did that by design.
We did. So you can
Yeah.
just leave this one here for the moment,
Sure.
okay?
Okay.
And then this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so it is bubbly and starting to ooze
Oh,
a
look
little
at
bit.
that.
And it's very hot, so
Set that right
don't
there.
burn yourself.
I'm going to get a
And-
rack.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a cooling
get a
rack.
cooling rack. And then we're going to reuse this foil pan. So this worked perfectly. Like I said, you would want to put some foil under your pan so that it doesn't ooze out like that. So we're just gonna, I just happen to have that extra large pan. So I'm going to stick this in the oven and we're going to bake it. That one baked about 37 minutes. So 35
So
to
35.
40 minutes you'll want to bake your pie at 400 degrees. Okay, so we're going to bake that for about 35 minutes. And where you get your crunchy caramel apple is you're going to then finish it with about a quarter of a cup of caramel sauce. So
And you don't measure. You just.
I'm just gonna.
You're just gonna drizzle.
Going to drizzle. So you can either, take your jar and just spoon it on, or you can just drizzle it like
I
this.
think I would like the spoon method myself.
Because you'd get
you could
more?
get a lot more, a lot faster, and you could get right at it.
I suppose.
Should I get a spoon? You want to try it both ways?
Well, actually, all we have to do really
Just pour
is
it.
just pour it. So we're just gonna take this
Is it
out.
warmed up enough?
It is. So
And one of the things you got to do if you take your jar off the shelf, or even if it's in the refrigerator, you need to throw it in the microwave for a few seconds, just so it can run
okay,
more
that's
a little easier. That is
much
much
easier, huh?
easier, and
Okay.
I like that method.
so we are going to do about a
Get it
quarter
on
of a
fast.
cup. I think that's about a quarter of a cup.
I would say so.
Okay, and then we are going to top it with
Half cup.
a half a cup of, yes, I want to make sure it was a half a cup and not a quarter cup. A half a cup of chopped
You
pecans.
can't have too many pecans.
And this is our crunchy caramel apple pie. And I also make this pie similar to this, only without the oatmeal
Mm-hmm.
and without putting the pecans and caramel on top. So that's
Does
just
it have a different name?
that's my apple crumb pie.
Apple crumb.
Okay.
Okay. Let's slide this over.
So I hope that Father
Put these on
Martin is having just a really nice day celebrating his birthday today. We would have loved to have had him on our show to, lend us some of his humor.
Right.
He doesn't like to cook, so that would have been,
That would have been kind of fun.
kind of funny,
Mhm.
just probably in itself. Just teaching him, maybe another
Just
time if he's
another
not
time,
busy,
if he's
we'll,
not busy.
we'll have him on,
Yeah.
and he can demonstrate how he makes his favorite food.
Which is PB&J.
Yeah, PB&J.
He could do that.
Everybody
We
needs
have-
to have an
we have
expert
not done
PB&J.
PB&J yet.
Yes, yeah. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. Happy birthday to Father Sam, and until next time, from Cooking with Ruth and Gary, happy cooking. That's because he's perfect.
You're the perfect,
not
except for
quite
my
perfect,
collar.
except
Here
for
we
your
go.
collar. There
Here we go. Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Here's the outtake. Okay, ship shape.
Here.
No,
Do I
you
need
don't
to
need
button
that.
it?
No, they'll
I wanna
just
be
look like
modest
you're
here. Okay.
Suffocating.
All right. Edit it out.
Yeah.
I love that phrase. Edit it out.
Okay.
Edited. Edited. It's been edited.